all kinds of fun stuff. So I want to tell you, every year, Keystone takes the month of January, and we pray and we fast. And no matter what you've heard, people love it. They love to fast. And normally, we would say we have like a week that we really center on. But this year, we're going to do it all month. Seriously, it's like choose your own adventure this year. You can do whatever you want all through the month of January because we're going to pray and we're going to fast all month. In fact, if you need a week, if you're one of those people that's like, just tell me when to do it. We're going to pray and praise on January 17th, so that might be a good week to center your fast. If you need some prep time, I know I do. That's why I talk about fasting today to kind of prepare people for what is to come. But we will be praying together all month. Obviously, we pray in here together, much like we did a moment ago. But also in this month, we're going to pray every Sunday night right here in the worship center for different things. Tonight, 7 o'clock, we're going to pray for our mission partners and missions that we support. And who knows, we're looking for new mission partners too. So we're going to pray for that tonight. So come ready tonight to pray. We're not going to have a band. We're not going to have any of that. It's literally, we are going to pray tonight. So if you've never done that, guess what? Tonight's the night. You can check it out. Next week, Saturday, we're going to take a little field trip. Who loves field trips? Thank you, Billy. All the students are like, yes, every week. This one's on Saturday, so we can't get you out of school, guys. But we are going to go down to Benjamin Franklin Parkway, meet up with a bunch of other churches, and we're going to pray up and down the Parkway. It's called Prayer on the Parkway. Clever. And if you want to go, we're going to take a van, or you can drive down there and park. But you can get all that information on our website. Just kind of look for the Keystone Loves symbol, and it'll have the information there for next week. We also have, I already said it, prayer and praise on January 17th. These are all things you should be writing down. I see no one writing things down. That's fine. You have perfect audible memory. But you can come to that. It's going to be incredible. I typically don't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about that night. I'm going to teach you how to fight. Sound good? All right, just piqued your interest. Not going to tell you anything more. So come that night, learn to fight. And then there's a men's breakfast on January 20th. You won't be fasting that day, but, because we need to, eat a lot at those. We're going to be praying together, so if you're a man, you love to come and pray with other men. January 20th, we have a men's breakfast that morning. So you might be saying, wow, this is a praying church. You're absolutely right. We're praying a lot in January. Lots of opportunities to pray this month because no matter what we do as a church, we have got to be a praying church. This is where you amen really loud because you believe that. Thank you. Now, many of you have already forgotten the second part that I said just a moment ago, the fasting part. We're a fasting church as well. I didn't forget that part. I have for years, some of you have known me for the 10, 11 years I've been at Keystone, I have for years in preparation for fasting taught on fasting. Some teaching on it, mostly because growing up in the church, I never in my life heard a sermon about fasting. So I thought that'd be an interesting topic. Turns out I really enjoy teaching about it. You're going to notice here in a few minutes, I'll be very upfront with you, this is, for the most part, the exact same sermon that I have preached after today 6 times. I gave you last year off. I didn't preach it last year. 6 times. So some of you might even right now be thinking, oh, great, I have heard this before. Yes, you have. But here's what I know. We don't grow by knowing. What do we grow by? Doing. I feel like there's a verse in James about that. So I share this with you again and again. At the end, I'll challenge you to ask God, what do you think I should do? Don't matter what I think you should do. It doesn't matter what your husband or wife thinks you do, your mom, your dad. What, God, do you think I should do? And I will challenge you to hear from God, believe God, and what's the last part? Obey God. Here's why. God is inviting you. This is what fasting is like for me. God is inviting you to spend time with Him. Who would like that? He wants your full attention, though. Do you understand that? He wants your full attention. Because I don't know about you. Do any of you ever get distracted? Any of you distracted right now? Any of you thinking, what's for lunch? You said fasting 3 times. I'm already only thinking about food, right? You get distracted. Who needs to, just every once in a while, put everything away and just be completely focused on one thing? Because you get distracted. So when God says, I want to spend time with you, I think he can do that however he wants, but I think it's very obvious through the Bible, and you'll see today, that sometimes he wants you to remove all distractions and just spend time with him. So what sort of things do we put away? Maybe our phones, maybe turn off our TV. In the case of fasting, you stop eating. You know, I had an awesome post-Christmas this year. I got to go away. I was gone like 9 days. So long that I lost count of what days it was. That's good. That's an awesome. But I got to spend like 8 days in a house with all of my family. Some of you are laughing. Like it was great. I really liked it. We had a pool, okay? So that makes a lot of things great. But it was very non-distracting to spend that time with my mom and dad, my sister, her husband Gary, their kids. There's 13 people in a house. One day there was 22 people in that house. That was a little distracting. But I'm just saying, it was nice to get away from my house, all my things, and just spend time with those people. It was great. It's hard to do sometimes, though. So maybe some of you are thinking right now, are we all going to Florida? Are Bill and Betty inviting 1,000 of Mark's friends to come down? No, I'm open to that, but that's not what I'm talking about. Here's what we're going to do. I'm inviting you, because God's inviting me, to take some time this month, remove distractions, and fast. All cards on the table, okay? All cards on the table here. Fasting is without a doubt, for me at least, the most difficult spiritual discipline to master. Has anybody tried it in here? Anybody in agreement with old Pastor Mark up here? It's hard. It's hard. Other parts of spiritual disciplines I don't find as hard as fasting. They're difficult, but I don't think they're as hard. I listed out some. Prayer. Okay, I like that. Reading the Bible, going to church, these things, going to a community group, giving, being generous, worship, fellowship. That's the easiest one, fellowship. Confessing sins, that's hard, but at least you get that immediate sort of release. Evangelizing, going to the mountaintop and screaming Jesus, and then also telling the person that lives next door to you, okay, I get that. Serving, I can do all those things. But then when you factor in fasting as a spiritual discipline, you start to think that's really hard. And so I want to dispel a few myths about fasting. 2 big reasons why it's hard. You ready? It's not fun. And it's not easy. Theological elite up here, okay? Fasting's not fun and it's not easy. And so because of that, we often relegate it to something we just don't want to do. It's mentioned in the Bible quite a bit. If you've been here for the 5 previous sermons, you know how many times. But baptism is mentioned in the Bible 75 times. Who thinks that fasting is mentioned more or less than baptism? Now, contextual clues should let you know it's more. 77 times fasting is mentioned or talked about. And yet, until I came to Keystone, I never ever heard it preached on or taught on in my life. So it isn't as if good Bible readers just never noticed it. I don't think so. I think it's sort of like this. Fasting is for really holy people. Anybody ever thought that? Or fasting is for clergy. Oh, thanks. That's just for you to do, Mark. You fast on our behalf. I ain't going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's for, Old Testament prophets. That's who fasts. Anyone ever believe that? I did once. It's so different from the other spiritual disciplines because you feel it in your body, specifically right here. And if you're me, you feel it in your head. It's a form of suffering. It's hard. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm not trying to sell this to you, obviously. Obviously. When God began challenging me several years ago to do multiple day fasts, right? I'd never done it before, multiple day fasts. I went and I talked to Pastor John. I was several days into it, and I'll be honest, I was not going well. I found myself standing at the pantry with the door open, staring at things. Just standing and staring. Like, how have I ever wanted a gherkin pickle that much? It's like, I don't think that's a vegetable. I think God would be okay with that. You start making deals with God. One pickle, I'll just drink the juice of the pickle. I don't even want that. But you crave it. And so I went to John, who, man, it's just been such an awesome force in my life. And he's fasted Elijah and all these different fasts. And I'm like, John, it is not going well. I'm making deals with God at the pantry at 1 a.m. Talking about eating one chocolate chip, stuff like that. Like, what is going on? And he told me this thing that really released me, and I hope it will deliver you this morning. You ready? This is Pastor John's great wisdom. I wrote it down. I'm going to read it to you directly because I want to make sure I get it right. Fasting is hard. Now, who thinks that was effective in that moment? Okay, believe it or not, it was 100% effective. It was 100% effective, and here's why. I thought that it was supposed to be easy. Because I thought, if I'm fasting for all the right reasons, then this will be easy. I was wrong. That's the whole point, is that it's not easy. So what even is it? What is fasting? Technically speaking, right? Technically speaking, fasting means that. Cover your mouth. Abstain from food. Did anybody eat breakfast this morning? You ever think about the word breakfast? What are you doing? You're breaking the fast. Break fast. Some of you just thought of that for the first time ever in your life just now. You're going to be thinking about it every day for the rest of your life. But it means abstain from food, to go without. Simply for us, it means this: abstaining from food for measured periods of time in order to heighten our hunger for the things of God. Every year I tell you that, and every year we see fruit from this. Abstaining from food for measured periods of time. Could be a day, could be half a day. I'll talk about that more in a moment. In order to heighten our hunger for the things of God. So you may say, why do I need to do that? Could it be that some of us have seen our hunger for other things rise to the top? Could it be that when we wonder why our lives are just not the way we think they should be, could it be that we've allowed the hunger for other things to rise to the top? Maybe they're outpacing your hunger for God. I heard a pastor, or maybe I read in a book, I don't know, at this point, it might as well be mine. I've preached this so many times. But it's like, I heard a guy, he surveyed a bunch of Jesus followers, and he said, what are your top things? Like, what are the top things you deal with, you struggle with, that are frustrating, your spiritual problems? Everybody tracking with me here? Maybe this is some of you. So, like, if one of these is you, just raise your hand. You'd say, yeah, these things I struggle with. Inconsistent time with God, maybe a quiet time. Anybody struggle with that? Or did you hit all 365 last year? You got an extra day this year, so you can step it up a notch. How about this? I don't sense the presence of God sometimes, right? Okay, good. Some of you are awesome. I've got areas that I just can't beat. I got sin in my life that comes in a rotation. You're like the book of Judges, right? Oh, man, this is awesome. Now it's not so awesome. Oh, I'm being judged. Hey, it's awesome again. Some of you are there. I'm not getting answers to my prayers. Anybody deal with that? My prayers are empty. Sometimes they feel cold. Many of you might say, I feel like whoever you stole that from probably surveyed me. I think I was on that call. So how do we break these patterns? How do we make room for God? Is it that we just read our Bible more? You could do that. I think you should do that. Is it I should pray more? We certainly have that opportunity here. I think we should do that. Well, we'll try that, right? But somehow, some of you, if you're really being honest today, you'd say, but I always slip back into these patterns. Could it be that you just need to remove all distractions and really focus on God for a measured amount of time? It could be. It could be the way you think about your life, the way I think about my garage sometimes. I like a tidy garage. All right, and the week after Christmas kills me because it's not tidy. It's all the Christmas decorations are in there, and I'm just thinking like, oh my goodness, we're never going to get this put away. And so after everything gets put away, I go in there and I begin to tidy it. But there's only so much tidying I can do. Eventually, I have to take everything back off the shelves and really get in there and clean it well, and then put it back on the shelf. Is anybody at all like this? And Jennifer comes in and she says, it looks exactly the same. But I'm like, well, but I know it's different. I know. I think that's our life sometimes. We try to just kind of clean it a little bit or move around the things that are in the way. But it is possible that God is saying, I need you to take everything away and really focus for a measured period of time just on him. So how does my hunger for food compare to my hunger for God? That's why it's so powerful to fast. Matthew 5:6 says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for what? Righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. What is this teaching will happen if I hunger for God? I will be blessed and what? Satisfied. Do you guys like to be satisfied? Yeah, I do. So fasting is really determining where your hunger for God is. It's determining when your hunger for God exceeds your hunger for other things. Your hunger, your thirst. Have you ever been really hungry? Anybody hungry right now? Yeah, I'm a little hungry. I didn't eat this morning. Who thinks we just don't have a great understanding, at least in our culture, for what it's like to be hungry and thirsty, right? I'll bet in this room, we've probably got so much food just in this room, in purses and pockets and coats. You know, I could probably eat for a month. I bet we have so many ways to carry fluid in this room. Any Stanley Cups in the room? Just hold them up. Now's your chance, right? All right, tackle the Stanley Cup holders. That's what we're supposed to do. I saw that on the news. We got Nalgene bottles in here. We take food and water with us everywhere we go. I live 8 miles away, and you would think I lived 500 miles away. It's like, oh, I got to have water bottle. I got to have a cup of coffee. I got to have a protein bar. You never know. You never know what might happen on the way down. I mean, last week in Florida, I got stuck in traffic on I-4. It was ridiculous, right? And it was with Jennifer, and my mom was in the back, and Billy, and we're sitting. We didn't move for like 10 minutes, which that gets me. But because I'm like, I could totally fix this. But I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. You guys hungry? I'm hungry. I'm in Dad's car, so I'm like, I know he has snacks in here. So I'm like opening the thing. I literally, 10 minutes in, I was ready to like eat our family, you know? And I'm like, who's going first? But lo and behold, I found a little bag because my dad he likes to squirrel away snacks. He had a little bag of Red Hots. Do you know what those are? Little red things. I was eating them like they were power pellets. I ate a couple. We'd move a car. I said, Jennifer, do we have any more of those Red Hots? I'm dying, right? 13 minutes is how long we sat. 13 minutes. So I don't know that we have a real true understanding of what it's like to be hungry. So I'm talking about real hunger. Real hunger. We as a people, I know this, we're getting hungrier for food, but are we getting hungrier for God? Like if I go 13 minutes without hearing from the Lord, am I like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Do I have the red hot version of that? Like what is going on? How would you compare your hunger for food to your hunger for God? Have you ever thought about it? And if you're not sure, I invite you this month to fast for a day. You find out around 1 o'clock. Just telling you, you find out around 1 o'clock. Practically, when you miss a Bible reading or two, do you feel it? Do you feel it in your bones, in your gut? Do you feel it the same way you do when you miss dinner? Some of you are like, I never miss dinner. Well, I'm inviting you. Hey, here's a little insider info. Not now, I'm going to say it. But I started praying through the book of the Bible we're going to preach through when we finish Mark. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I started praying through it. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited that one morning we were out in Florida. I missed the morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed it. I got to go upstairs and read it right now. When I fast, I realize that areas of my spiritual life may be growing cold because I'm not hungering and thirsting for them. So I fast. I find, maybe you do too, I find other things to satisfy that part. I fill up on that. I fill up on junk. If you're a parent, you've said that to your kid, haven't you? Don't fill up on junk. And then wonder why you're not hungry when the good stuff comes. Do you save room for what God has for you? There's a great story in the Bible in John 4. It says, now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, and parenthetically, it's like, although Jesus himself did not baptize, only his disciples, he left Judea and departed again for Galilee. and he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well, and it was about the 6th hour. Just to put that into context for you, that's about a 30-mile journey on foot. It'd be like walking over to the Wells Fargo Center from here via I-76. I know some of you don't take that route. Just trust me, I Google mapped this. If you were to walk down there today in the cold, what do you think would be on your mind when you arrived? I'm hungry. Let's get a little food, maybe some water. Maybe those Red Hots are in the car still. Maybe we could get some of those. All right, here's what Jesus says. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. That makes sense. Jesus said to her, give me a drink. For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Jesus talks with the lady. He makes a friend. Disciples go off to find the food. Which team are you on? Let's be honest. If you just done a 30-mile journey, are you on team let's make a friend or on team let's go find food? Vote now. Point. Make a friend? I see no one pointing over here. Oh, you unrighteous. No. I would be on let's go get some food. Maybe we'll find a friend there, right? These guys are always looking for food. Skip down to verse 31. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, Rabbi, eat. Because they get to eat if he eats. Let's just be honest. But he said to them, I have food to eat that you do not know about. Okay. Disciples come back. Jesus, have a bite. Jesus, it's time to eat. Jesus, let's all eat now. Jesus tells them, I have food to eat that you don't know about. What does that mean? What does that mean for us? I think it means don't fill up on the junk food. Jesus has food for you that you don't even know about. What are you filling up your life with? So much filling up of our life that when you get to the good stuff, you don't have room. Why? Because you filled up on junk. Jesus is teaching us something here that I believe is key and important for a month of prayer and fasting. That you only have so much hunger. What is it that you're filling up on? Did you ever think about that? You only have so much hunger. You only have so much room. What is it that you're filling up on? Your capacity for hunger is limited. What is it that you're filling up on? I made a list of some things that you might be filling up on. Work. You got to go to work, right? Hey, you got to do that. Entertainment. Who likes to, be entertained? Watch the Sixers. Watch the Eagles maybe later today. Hey, 7 o'clock prayer, though. So 4:25 kickoff. You can live a life of total disappointment and then come in here and we can pray. And we're not going to pray for the Eagles, but we're going to pray for our mission partners around the world. So you can come do that. Come fill up on prayer. How about sleep? Who slept, right? Okay, that takes some time. Watching sport, phone stuff. You on your phone a lot? Facebook? Not really, right? I don't know. I don't really do that. But Instagram, okay, I spend some time there. Be real, is that really still a thing? I do it. Eating, you spend time eating? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, night snack. Starbucks, you get your coffee milkshake, all that stuff. Sports, the ones you play, the ones your kids play. Working out, you fill up on these things. When you're not careful, you can fill your entire hunger capacity. These things are important, don't get me wrong, but you can fill up your entire hunger capacity that when God gives you something that is incredible, you can be like, oh no, I filled up on junk because I found other ways to satisfy my hunger. So he says, I have food you don't know about. And their answer in 33 is the disciples said to one another, I think this is hilarious, has anyone brought him something to eat? What do you mean you got food we don't know about? Who thinks they get it? They don't get it, right? Who thinks we've not gotten things? So let's not be too hard on these guys, right? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Has anyone brought him food we don't eat? Did Jesus eat and we not see it? Verse 34, Jesus said to them, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. He tells them what the score is, doesn't he? He says, my food is to do the will of God. That's the thing I have. So my curiosity then for myself, and I want to relay it to you, is do I hunger for the same things that Jesus hungers for? This is a big deal. This is a big deal. Fasting is important. This is a big deal. Am I filling, I've been down south too long, filling up on all the empty stuff and not saving room for this truly important stuff? If you take a look at the last year of your life, what did you do that was most satisfying? Was it to accomplish His work? Or did you find when those opportunities came up, you just weren't that hungry for it? You were too busy. So maybe it's time to remove some distractions and just find out how hungry you are. Verse 35, he says, do you not say there are yet 4 months, then comes the harvest? Look, I tell you, lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for harvest. That's Jesus saying, take a look around. There's plenty to do. There's plenty to do. The fields are ready. So how would we say that? Because maybe some of you are farmers, but maybe that just doesn't translate that well for us. How would we say that? Here's how I say it. When I'm fasting, I'll be asking these questions. God, what is your will for me? What do you want me to do? Where would you like to send me? What would you have me do? God, I want to hunger and thirst for you even more than I hunger and thirst for food. I want to be a part of your will. What are you filling up on that could possibly be hindering what God has for you? So one of the questions I get all the time about fasting is this, how do I do it? Mark, how do you do it? Mark, you had John. Did you ask him? Did you ever ask him, how do you do it? I did. And here's what I found out. Fasting is less of a how-to issue and more of a, you guessed it, heart issue. Here's the thing. I don't think that fasting is like a I wonder how you do it thing. I believe for me, and I know this is true, it is a want to. I don't do it because I don't want to sometimes. It's not because I don't know how. It's like a lot of things in life, right? Oh, I know how to do it. I just don't. It's a heart issue. Here's what I know. We can get bogged down with the how am I supposed to do this aspect of fasting, and we can completely miss the entire point. Anybody ever been guilty of doing that with anything? You study something for so long on how to do it, you don't even end up doing it? Some of you are like, this is the 6th time I've heard this sermon, and I still don't know enough to do it. You do. I promise you, you do. Here's what it's like for me. Results may vary. I always tell you guys this. When I fast, this is the type of human I become. Personally, I have to cut out food completely. All or nothing. I can't do the Daniel fast. I can't just do a no sugar fast. I can't do it. And here's why. That consumes me. I have an obsessive personality, and it consumes my life and ruins my relationship with my family. Because I'll tell you about it in a minute. But I drink juice, and I warm up a little vegetable broth in the evening. I don't complicate it. That's what I do. Some people are like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. Great, then don't. That's what I do, all right? I get tired of sweet things pretty quickly, like juice and things like that, so I start drinking less juice after a few days, and I kind of like salt. I crave salt anyway because I grew up in America, and I just like it. I do still drink coffee. Some people don't. Some people go, I drink coffee, but not with the cream. Whatever, I drink coffee. I like coffee. Jesus isn't mad at me if I drink coffee. I do still work out. That may come as a great surprise to some of you, but I'm not an elite athlete. This really doesn't affect me overall that much. I don't sleep as much. I wake up in the middle of the night a lot when I'm fasting, but it tends to not bother my restlessness. I don't get restless during the day, so that's been good. In the first week, my mind wanders, which, shocker, it already wanders. So if you then don't eat for the first week or however many days you do, my mind wanders even more. Yes, it is super annoying for my lovely family that's over here on my right, your left. I have headaches from time to time and become really mean. I get hungry, shocker, but seriously, after like 2-3 days, you don't get hungry anymore. It's a weird thing. It's more of a mental thing from that. I get grumpy. Can I get an amen from the corner over here? I get grumpy. I get irritable, not hangry, just mad. I don't know. It's something I'm working on. I find out almost immediately how hungry I am for the things of God. I keep a journal sometimes I don't. Don't care. I always come away with something fresh from God, but rarely does it happen while I'm fasting, which maybe it does for you, but over the years, the answers that I seek, the hear, believe, obey aspect of that for me comes afterwards. I don't know. I learned self-control, which is a fruit of the Spirit, and something I definitely want more of. Fasting empties you, but it doesn't leave you that way. So why do it? Zechariah 7:5 says, "Say to all the people of the land and the priests, when you fasted and mourned in the 5th month and in the 7th for these 70 years, was it for me you fasted?" So that last part is why. I spend time teaching on it, and we don't just put out an Instagram post that says, you should fast this month. Was it for me? There's lots of good reasons to fast. Careful that they are for God. You say, what do you mean? What do you mean? Be careful. Here, I did this once. I held God hostage. How do you think that went? I said to God, I'm going to fast until I get answers. Guess who you can't outwait? God and 4-year-olds. You can't outwait them. They can outwait you, and God certainly can. It is to spend time with God. So what kind of fast can we do? You can do whatever kind of fast you want to do. There's normal fast. If you're like me, you got to take away food, right? Maybe all food for 3 days. Maybe you don't eat lunch all week. I don't know. Honestly, I don't get too complicated with this thing. Maybe you don't eat breakfast for a month. I don't know. You're going to ask God here in a minute. He'll tell you. Some people, Daniel fast. You've probably heard of that. I think we did it as a church once. That's when I found out I was a little Pharisee on Daniel fasting. Because I found out, that's where you just eat fruits and veggies. And I was like, oh my gosh, it is a short little leap over to corn, and that's tortillas, and that's salsa. And I went to town. It was like a Mexican fiesta every night at our house. And once I justified guacamole, it was over for me. So it was just too much. I found the very reason I was fasting was to spend more time with God. And what I was really doing was preparing Daniel fast meals for myself and studying recipes. So the time I would have spent listening to God, I was like, am I allowed to eat that? And then someone from church called me from the grocery store aisle and was like, hey, Mark, I want to get your read on this. And I was like, FaceTime me. I'll look at these labels with you. And I was like, this can't be what it's supposed to be, right? I'm reading soup labels over the phone to somebody. And given a reading on it, like a judgment. So I can't do that, all right? That's a trigger for me. You say, what about fasting from things like social media or certain foods like sugar or whatever? For me, can't do it. Can't do it. I don't have a super strong opinion about this, but I know for me it has to be food. Some of you, and I know it has to be hard, okay? Some of you for medical reasons or whatever, I get that. I totally get that. So I may not be able to fast from food. I understand that. So finding a way to do it's got to be good. But and maybe fasting from social media or television or streaming or whatever it is, maybe that can be a solid option for you. To be blunt, just for a moment, if social media is affecting you that much, I don't think you should fast from it. I think you should just quit it. Like if there's a sin in your life, I'm not saying social media is a sin in your life, but there's a sin in your life, that can't be the thing you fast from. That's the thing you need to destroy in your life. Does that make sense? But I want to be careful because I know maybe for some people that is the biggest distraction. And at the end of the day, the fasting is not a way for us to impress or manipulate God. Rather, it's for us to recognize that we should have complete dependence on God. So what are we really after? To spend time with God. So if you take away food or whatever you deem important enough in your life that you take it away, you got to feel it. In Psalm 84, it gives us this: for a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. For the Lord God is a sun and a shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does he withhold. Do you believe that? For those who walk uprightly. So, with our remaining time, I read this to you every year. I read this in a book, and our team could probably come on up. It's Don Whitney wrote a book on prayer. He's really got a lot of stuff. If you didn't hear that quick enough, I can tell it to you later. He says this about fasting. I think when most people fast, they just see it as something to endure. The Bible says, fast, I'm going to fast. I'm not going to eat for 24 hours, whatever. And the whole time, their stomach growls, their head aches, and they think, man, I'm hungry. And their next thought is, oh, that's right, I'm hungry because I'm fasting. And their next thought is, how much time till this is over? And they just end up enduring it, and it's miserable, and it's a self-centered experience. So why not do this? When your stomach growls, when your head aches, you say, man, I'm hungry. You will do that. Man, I'm hungry. And your next thought will be, oh, that's right, I'm hungry, but I'm fasting today. And your next thought could be something like this. Am I fasting for a purpose? Let's say your purpose is you're fasting and praying for your child's salvation. And so every time during the day that you get hungry, that should be a prompt to pray for your child's salvation. And the result is you're praying for your child's salvation all day long. Your hunger serves you. Your hunger serves your greater purpose. And your greater purpose is not to endure hunger. Your greater purpose is to see the salvation of your child. So let's pray together. Father, thank you so much for the power of the gospel, the good news, and for your presence today in this early January Sunday morning. We ask, God, that you would minister to us in a way that would be life-giving, transforming. You may be feeling fear over fasting. I know that's not from the Lord. You may be looking at those 5 frustrations that we mentioned earlier and be frustrated that you even have any of them. You may be excited to fast, but you want to do it for only the right reasons. So God, the only thing I know to do is to ask you, would you show us today? So you can ask God right now. This may be the first time in your life you've ever asked God something about a spiritual discipline. Say, God, are you inviting me to fast? Hey, guess what? Just because I say we're doing it this month, God may say, hey, I don't want you to fast this month. It's not good time. I did that once. I had it all set up. I calendared it. I said, I'm going to fast during this time. And I prayed about it, and God was like, no, that's not a good time for you to do that. So God, are you inviting me to fast? Second thing, God, how long would you like me to fast? Don't try to guess here. Just really listen. And this last one's bold. We're going to talk about praying boldly next week. But say, God, what would you like to talk with me about during the fast? God, I thank you, and I know you know the details of every situation and that you're a good God. And God, as we cast our cares on you, God, I thank you that you will give us a supernatural peace. We thank you for that. We wouldn't have a fear of fasting. We would know it's hard. It's a form of suffering, but by faith, we ask that you would work miraculously. I thank you in advance that you will bring glory to your name because you are good. And so, God, by faith, we trust you and we